Hey there everybody, welcome back. Thanks for clicking on the video. I hope that if you enjoy it you'll subscribe and give it a like and comments. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. I really appreciate it. You guys are all very awesome, just so you know. Today we're going to get into 90 Day Fiancé the Other Way, Season 5, Episode 2, Long Distance Medium. What a crazy episode that was. I definitely see some more repeating storylines from the 90 Day world, but we are definitely going to get into that. First, I wanted to start off with Holly and Wayne. Now, catching up with our own 90 Day version of Rapunzel, she is off to South Africa to marry her fiancé Wayne. The plan is to marry a week after she arrives there. So she's feeling anticipation and concern. She's worried things might not be the same between them. And she doesn't think that that's going to be the case, but, it's still in the back of her mind. She's definitely excited to bring her mom. They've always been really close, and she values her opinion. And if her mom really doesn't like him, that might make Holly question the marriage. So she also appears to have like 10 suitcases. It was like Danielle moving to the DR amount of suitcases. But that made sense to me because there was 2 of them and she was moving. I just know luggage is very expensive. I don't know if shipping things is easier, but anyway, they get all packed up and loaded up, and she's like, wow, Mom, I can't believe I'm getting married in a week. And, she says sometimes she does good with these things, and sometimes she gets scared and runs away. So I know she has like 2 divorces, and I'm not sure how many engagements, but maybe she's like runaway bride. But it's very important that her mom's going to be at the wedding. The mom wants, to see her get married, and she wants to meet this guy. But her main priority is figuring out the safety. She's worried because in the past, Holly and Wayne were broken into before. And the mom's a little nervous. She's not sure what to expect. She's never been around anything like that. So she's just going to see how she feels. She said she's going to tell Wayne what needs to be said and make changes for safety before she'll feel good about leaving Holly there and going home. And her mom has definitely had second thoughts about going with her because of all the danger, but she wants to meet Wayne and see how they are together and everything. She wants to make sure that she has someone to love and respect her and treat her well. She's doing her motherly duty, And I've noticed like safety was always the big issue in the South Africa storylines, like with Tiffany and Ronald. She didn't want to move there because, it wasn't safe for Daniel, that kind of thing. So we have heard this before. So, they're getting ready to leave, and Holly's pointing out, like, this is the last time that this is going to be her home, and she's going to finally get her fairy tale princess wedding love story. We all want one of those, right? So they get to the airport, and she's just confident it'll work out, because if it doesn't, she's going to be devastated. So she's just putting her head in the space of it's going to work out. So on the flip side, in South Africa, Wayne is getting ready for Holly's arrival today. He's been waiting 7 months for this. And at the beginning of the 7 months, he was worried she would find someone else and not come back. But, she didn't. And now they're going to be married in a week. And her mom's going to be with. So that's going to be awkward for him because he's only seen her on video call. So it's going to be a little strange. He's worried about Holly being able to adapt to South Africa with all the cultural differences, such as like safety, food, money, language, I'm sure, just everything. So he's a little worried. Then we get back to Holly at the airport, and after 38 hours of no sleeping or eating, they arrive. She's so happy to get off the plane, but she isn't feeling well. She doesn't know if it's nerves, food poisoning, what. But she, rushes off to the nearest bathroom. She's going to figure that out. Meanwhile, while she's in the bathroom being sick, Wayne has been waiting there for 2.5 hours. So he's starting to get a little worried. Him and his flowers are both wilting as they stand there. But finally Holly emerges, and she jogs over to him, and they hug. But thank God, she's like, don't kiss me, because she's been throwing up. I was worried that they were going to kiss, and it was going to make me want to throw up. So I'm glad that she warned him. And so was he. He was a little disappointed to not get the kiss, but he was appreciative of the warning. So they feel great being together. The energy feels the same. He meets the mom. They hug. So far the mom likes him. But she does have to get to know him better. This is the first few minutes. So then Holly's sitting there trying to figure herself out, and her dress is falling off and riding up at the same time, and this is making Wayne a little uncomfortable. He thinks people are looking at her sexually, and he doesn't like it. And basically he's going to have her change her style and her clothing, because that's just not it for him. I think he could have worded it better, like, I'm going to talk to her about it making me uncomfortable and see if she'll change. Not like he's going to force her to do it. That's a little controlling. So, Wayne's excited to get them home and show her mom around. He says it's small, but hopefully it feels like home. And Holly's like, nah, bro, we're moving. Like, there's a gated community. That's where we're headed. He wants them to discuss that at first because he's upped the security and he spent a lot of money on doing that, and he just doesn't want to move. That's his home. This man has really made zero sacrifices for this relationship, aside from letting the mom stay with them for a few months. And he doesn't even want to fully commit to the 3 months of that. But she brings that up. She says he doesn't understand the sacrifices she's made to be there. And he's like, yeah, I get that. He acknowledges it, and he knows a lot of people wouldn't do that. And she's like, well, yeah, you've won the wife lottery. And they have a laugh, and they walk away, and that's where we leave them. And, it was cute. It was glad to see them reunite. She definitely looked very pale and, like, I don't want to say terrible, because she's a pretty person, but she looked terrible. And yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes. I don't think the mom's going to do very well, based on the preview and just my knowledge of older American ladies going over and having culture shock. I hope it doesn't go that bad. Or even like the men going over there. Ed, anyone? He did great, right? So I'm excited to see how that goes. I am rooting for them. He seems very stuck in his ways and like not willing to give up anything. He didn't want to move to America, which is fine, but he didn't want to leave his family and his business, and now he doesn't want to even leave his home. And I think if someone moved countries for me and they wanted to move to a different home, I would at least, entertain that. He kind of shut it down right away. But maybe he felt shot down because he made all these upgrades for her, It looked like a pepper spray garage. That's pretty cool. But they both need to give each other more of a chance here, I think. And get some sleep. 38 hours on the plane has got to be rough. All right, everybody, let's move on to the new guy. So we see the new guy. He's in a studio. He's looking like he's about to drop the next best mistake since Soulja Boy. And all of a sudden he just starts talking about animals and living happily in the forest. And he's like obviously someone who does voiceover. So I was jealous. but highly entertained because watching him do that definitely cracked me up. We find out his name is Tejaswi, and he's 33 from Jaipur, India. And people call him TJ, and thank the universe for that, because I would have called him that anyway. I would have came up with a nickname, so I'm glad he provided it. He does voiceover for commercials, new stuff, kids' stories. They're asking him what's the favorite voiceover job for him to do, and he says a mix of everything. He gives us a little sampling of that. It was funny. He says where he lives is safe and very welcoming. And it's a huge, juxtaposition to, Holly and Wayne, where it's completely not safe. And this guy, says that over in India, they don't have an individual life. If you live in a society, everyone's going to help everyone without asking. I'm sure people share, food, work, whatever it is. So, he gets home, he does the touching of his parents' feet out of respect thing. He tells us he lives with his mom, dad, and brother. His family is very traditional when it comes to the social norms of India. The women stay home and cook and clean and do all the stuff all day. And the man goes out and earns money, stuff like that for the family. And that's just how it works. He says over there you see cows everywhere, even in the home. He says in Hinduism a cow is a mother-like figure for them because after you have mother's milk, you survive on cow's milk. Now, I knew cows were very sacred to them, but I didn't know exactly why, so that was cool to learn that. He's outside, he's having a nice chat with the cow, and he tells her pretty soon the cow is going to meet Kimberly. So then he starts telling us he joined a spiritual group on social media a couple of years ago. He wanted to meet more people like him. Then he met Kimberly. So she made him smile, she was beautiful, and he just wanted to talk to her. But she didn't accept his friend request. So finally he asked her, why didn't you accept me? And she's like, look at your profile picture. And it was kind of I don't know, it was weird, something like that, with his hand over his face. And he's like, I thought it was funky and stylish. And she informed him that he indeed looks like a scammer and a con artist. But he knew she was his destiny, so he tried to manifest her. He says that's part of Hinduism, and I think that's really cool. I dabble in manifestation myself. So he describes it as visualizing something and making it real in your mind so it can really happen. So he stole her picture and started meditating for her to text him. And then she did the next day. And after that, they had a great connection, and he knew he wanted to marry her. And 6 months after that, they met in person. And she was so cute and sweet and just filled him full of hope. And she stayed there a year, which means they've known each other, which is wonderful, right? For a year. And he wanted to propose to her. But typically in India, they have an arranged marriage because it's two families merging together. Apparently it's very hard to get a love marriage in India, but especially to an American girl. Of course, we're all reminiscing about Jed and Rishi at this point, right? And Sumit and Jenny. But luckily, his parents approved of the relationship, so that's way different than that. So we get a new perspective here. But he knows if he chose an Indian girl, all their lives would be easier. His family is expecting her to be a traditional Indian wife, doing all the work and, all the womanly duties. But, of course, he hasn't told her that yet. He's just going to marry her first, work out all that stuff later, which is a terrible idea. So, we get to meet Kimberly. and she's doing tarot reading. And I love it. I personally do tarot reading all the time. I originally started a tarot YouTube channel, but I was too nervous a lot, and this just sounded like a lot of fun to me, so I went this route. But I still plan to do that someday, when I get more confident and everything. So I already know that I'm going to love Kimberly, and I'm going to relate to her a lot. She's 30. She's from Alabama. She sees spirit. She's a clairvoyant, claircognizant, and clairaudient. So learning her powers set her on her own path. So clairvoyant is people who see spirits. Claircognizant is people who can feel and predict things and energies. And clairaudient is hearing messages from spirit. So apparently she has the trifecta, which is real hard to come by. I could say that I would be the person who feels things intuitively, but I don't see or hear things. Yet, I guess. It could happen. So she says that she met her fiancé in a dream. One day she had a dream and they were in the desert riding dune buggies. And she was happy, having fun and free. And it felt like a metaphor for what her life would be with this person. The person she's been searching for her entire life. But in the dream she didn't see his face. It was more of a feeling. And she told her guides that she's ready to meet this man when they're ready. And not long after that, TJ reached out to her on social media. She didn't know how to say his name, so he told her to call him TJ. And her guides asked her if she was ready to meet the person from the dream, and that's when it clicked for her, and she realized this is the guy. And 6 months in, he asked her to marry her through text. She said, no, that's not a real proposal. And after that, she went there to meet him. She felt safe around him, just like in her dream. 2 months later, she did accept his proposal, but she didn't marry him while she was there on her visa. And now after 4 months, she's on her way over there to get married and build a life. So they're later having a video chat about the wedding. She wants to know the colors and the seating arrangements and all the things brides want to know, right? And he hasn't talked to anyone. He says weddings are pinkish, and that just makes her nervous. He's like, pink is pink. And she's like, no, there's 39 shades of pink, from hot pink to mauve. And his family is planning a very elaborate 3-day wedding, and she has basically no involvement in it, and that bothers her. But he just wants her to trust him about it. She should trust him because Indian weddings are so beautiful, and what they're doing, and she will love it, hopefully. I thought Jenny, beautiful. I love seeing it. So she's worried. He's like, well, that's normal when you're marrying an Indian guy long distance. He is funny. So then she brings up construction, and how's that going? He says he didn't get whatever it was she sent him, and she's annoyed by that. And he's like, well, things might look different when, she's there. And she said leading up to the wedding, she's stressed out, not about the wedding, but about this apartment. And they're building an apartment on top of his family home, and she's going to live there every day. And the details are driving her insane because this isn't what they agreed on. And I think a lot of things are about to happen to her that they didn't agree on. So she's worried about living with his parents. She doesn't want to live under their rules. She's not going to be able to cook what she wants. And he's like, you can cook whatever. And she can't cook garlic or onions. Apparently, the reason for that is, according to some Hindus, garlic and onions are very pungent, and that could carry a bad energy. And our girl Kimberly is Italian, and that's just the best smell in the world to her. And he's like, don't worry, it'll figure itself out. And then he asks her to pull a tarot card for him. And she's shuffling, he's thinking of his question. And in the voiceover, she's saying, honestly, she doesn't want to live with his family. She can't imagine adapting her life to these roles she doesn't believe in. But she always wants to marry him, and she knows he's for her. The card reveals he's not as confident in himself, but soon that'll change. So I think what we should do is pull a card for them, since I got him. Like, okay. What's the future for TJ and Kimberly? The Nine of Pentacles reversed. So they're going to have a hard time being like independent, standing on their own, and having confidence. And, you know, the Nine of Pentacles is a very confident, single, standing in their own power energy. So they're going to have a hard time doing that. Sorry if you didn't enjoy that. I had to. We'll see if that happens. If they have a hard time being independent and standing on their own and expressing how they feel and things like that. But I want to know like how Hindus feel about spirituality and tarot. Because most people consider tarot like witchcraft. And obviously he doesn't have a problem with it because he's asking her to do it. But is that normal, or is he like abnormal a little bit? Like he's rebelling? You know, oh, I like the tarot girl? Or is it like good in their culture? Because a lot of people consider it real bad. So anyway, back in India, we meet up with TJ, his mom, I think her name is Alka, and his brother. I believe his brother's name is Yash. I can't say it. We're just going to call him YJ, alright? Or his brother. So they're meeting up because, you know, he's getting married in 10 days after Kimberly gets there. So, you know, they're a little upset and stressed because they're doing the job that would normally fall on the bride's family. Usually the bride's family takes care of everything, I guess. But since she's in America, she doesn't know his traditions, so his family has all the responsibility. And I'm thinking, like, this girl wants to help and be involved. He's saying, trust me, you know nothing. She knows nothing, Jon Snow. He won't let her. You know, and this is, like, very one-sided. I said if this was a tarot card, it would be the Lovers reversed. Because everything is about her just conforming to his culture, and, you know, hers doesn't matter. It's like Nicole and Mahmoud vibes or something. So they start bringing up like how she wanted a white dress, and they have like a little laugh about it. And TJ explains, you know, white's not a wedding color. It's more for funerals and like a new widow. So there they use red wedding dresses. It's for fertility and wealth and happiness and prosperity. And I can get behind that. Red is also the color of passion. So there's that. And, you know, he knows she would prefer an American wedding, but that's just too damn bad. And they're not getting married in America. They're getting married in India. He was giving me spoiled brat vibes with this. So, the family saying marrying an American girl is complex because bringing her in the family and having her adapt to their lifestyle is going to be hard because her lifestyle now is so different. And I know for a fact she doesn't know how much she's expected to adapt to their lifestyle. And I'm going to tell you now, sometimes spirit guides send you on a path for a lesson, and they won't tell you what it is. So I can't wait to see what this lesson is for her. And, you know, when she lived there for a year before, she had her own apartment. She only saw his family a couple times a month. And this time she'll be living with all of them. So everybody's just going to have to adjust. He brings up that she's worried about privacy. And the mom's like, what privacy? You'll have your own room. You know, you get more privacy than I ever had. She didn't really say all of that, but that's what I felt. And apparently Kimberly is a moody girl. She has a lot of highs and lows with her. Sometimes TJ feels like they're right, sometimes he doesn't. He says their relationship is like the waves. So he's not sure how it's going to go, especially with her just being thrown into it. And this man, his brother YJ, is like, right now mom's doing all the chores, cooking, cleaning, laundry. In the future, both of their wives will have to take over and divide the work evenly, because this is the way, right? It's the tradition of the elders. And he's like, you got to be flexible and give her time. We got a kitchen, she can cook. And the mom is like, well, we're not going to torture her. But he says when they get married, she's going to be responsible for all the household duties, like cooking, cleaning, all that stuff. And like, what is it with the Indian men on this show specifically hiding things and like not being upfront? He says she thinks like an American and he knows she wants to continue that way in the future. But he just tells his family, let's see how it goes. And you can tell the brother knows this man's full of crap. You can tell he knows that she doesn't want to live like that. So we jump back over to Holly and why do I keep calling her Holly? Kimberly. We jump back over to Kimberly and we find out she puts out holiday videos. And, she has fun doing that. She doesn't have a huge following, but she makes videos for all holidays, including Dump That Jerk and Pirate Day. And she likes to be optimistic because she had depression a lot growing up. And she makes it a point to be positive and to spread positivity. And then she goes bowling with her dad and stepmom. She's been staying with them since she's been back from India, and that's brought him closer together. And they'll be going to India in a week to attend the wedding. We find out that when she was 4 years old, her parents got divorced, and they had an 8-year-long messy custody battle. She has 3 older sisters and a younger brother. It was a horrible situation on all of them. 1 year they'd be at their mom's, 1 year they'd be at their dad's. No one would know when it would change and get switched around. And, that made her angry because she just wanted it to stop. But in the end, her dad won, and they all moved to Arkansas, and he met her stepmom. The dad, the stepmom, Kimberly, they're all sad she's leaving. She tells her stepmom, she's always going to be her mom, and that her real mom wasn't nice to her and didn't like her, and she thinks that's due to Kimberly having personality traits that match the stepmom's. And, as she grew up, she realized how much her stepmom was really a parent to her, too. And, when she was younger, her mom made her feel like she was the least favorite. And, even now she tries to reach out to her mom, and it just doesn't go over well. The stepmom's sad because they finally got close, and now she's losing her. And they all hope that TJ realizes what she's giving up for him. And he makes her feel that he isn't supportive when it comes to the apartment or wedding. She doesn't feel supportive or heard. And, that's because she isn't. She said she admires her parents' relationship because they're a partnership, and that's what she wants to have. And they do tell her, like, look, you're stepping into a different world, and you don't know what to expect. I mean, she could know. She could know what to expect. It's called Google. Type in Indian wedding or Indian family culture or, 90-day fiancé. You'll be able to watch all the videos of what you're going to go through. But no one ever does. They don't research. They follow their hearts. So, the closer it's getting to the wedding, the more she's questioning things. She feels he brushes her off. He doesn't listen to her concerns. He doesn't take her seriously. And, that's how she feels like it's going to be being married. So maybe she shouldn't do it. Maybe he wasn't the guy in the dream. Maybe it was someone else in the desert. You don't know. And I just want to say, I know that Kimberly is going to get a lot of hate and people giving her a hard time for her beliefs, and I'm not going to be one of them because she is very much like me in that way. However, I don't think that I would move to India on it like a dream. I'd need a little bit more, like some angel numbers or something, something else. But everyone has their own beliefs and deserve to be respected, and just because spiritual people are a little unorthodox doesn't mean that we're wrong. And I could give you examples all day on how it has helped me. So that's all I'm going to say. I hope everybody, at least doesn't hate on her too much. Alright, let's move on to the OG couple of the season, Kenny and Armando. How cute was their picture with Hannah, with their names? They need to get that framed ASAP and put it in their living room because it was adorable. So, it's their first night in their condo in Mexico City, and they slept good. Armando liked the bed, and Kenny said, the garbage truck woke him up in the morning. But, that's just city life for you. And they're going to go ahead and go to the grocery store today. So they take off on foot, and the closer they get, Armando is getting nervous, and he's like, oh, this is getting sketchy. And Kenny's like, well, no, it's just getting busy. But they quickly arrive at the store. It didn't seem to be that far, but we don't know what they edited. But they made it there in half a second, TV magic. And when they get there, Armando lets Kenny know, since he's all Team Mexico, he can go in and do the shopping alone. And not in a mean way, it's like as a test. So in the interview, he says he knew Kenny didn't know Spanish when he moved to Mexico, and that it could potentially be a bigger problem in the city. In the smaller grocery store where they live, things are labeled. In Mexico City, you have to actually ask vendors for things. And Kenny's like, are you serious? He's definitely shaking in his new cowboy boots. And Armando's like, yeah, I'm going to send you the list, and him and Hannah will follow along behind him and observe how he does in the store. Kenny's definitely surprised by this because Armando doesn't normally play games like this. So now Kenny has something to prove, right? If he fails miserably, Armando will say, I told you so. I told you couldn't handle Mexico City. So let's all take a moment and pray for Kenny. Alright, so he starts walking around, and there's just so much stuff everywhere. Armando is telling Hannah, nobody in there speaks English, and she can't believe it either. And, the list is pretty long, too. He's looking for chicken, right? And I'm thinking, does Kenny not even know the word pollo? Like, even I know. I guess I know a few. But a lot of people know that word, chicken, pollo, right? So he asks the lady for cuatro, and he points to the chicken. And he does good there, But now it's off to the spices. Poor guy is trying to get salt and pepper, and, the vendor's not understanding. And, little Hannah sees he's not doing well getting the spices, and she's like, well, the broth will have no flavor. The poor girl. No flavor in her chicken. So they say Kenny looks lost, and he's struggling. And Armando does feel bad, but it is a little funny. So, Armando and Hannah have no hope they will get all the groceries. Kenny does say that he told Armando it's going to be hard for him learning Spanish because he has a learning disability, which is dyslexia. And now being in this market, he's freaking out. It's really crowded and busy, and it was very colorful and bright. Sensory overload for sure. So he is realizing that he needs to learn more Spanish because Armando might feel like more is being put on him if they do move there. And he's also kicking himself for not having a translating app on his phone. That could have been a nice loophole, right? So our man Kenny admits defeat, throws in the towel. And, Armando's just trying to show him the downside of living in Mexico City and that there will be more put on him. Kenny expresses that he's annoyed because he can figure out how to make appointments and shop. It just might take him longer, but Armando is already not giving it a chance or being open-minded. Later, they're walking the dog, and Kenny asks Hannah if she likes it, and she does. So, Kenny suggests the dog park nearby. And, Kenny rates his shopping trip a fail, but he's not giving up. Kenny asks Hannah if she would be okay being away from her Nana and family, and, she would definitely miss them. And Kenny tells her it's hard to move away from people that we care about, but you have to make the best of it. And she says, like Kenny had to with his kids. And he's like, yes, and she's just so smart, and she has a good heart, and they're just all so adorable. This family is just cute. Just cute. She says, she likes the trees, it's so pretty, and it will be hard being away from her family, but she's going to get used to it just like Kenny did. So then, of course, she wants to know if they decided if they're staying yet, and they haven't, and, it's still going to take a while to decide. Hannah takes the puppies off to play, and Kenny's happy, she's excited, and Armando's like, yeah, that makes me feel a little better. But, Kenny, you can't even go to the market and get things I need you to get. And, Kenny admits he was overwhelmed at the market, and that does scare him a little bit. But at the same time, he chose, to move to Mexico to be with Armando. So he's just going to have to deal with the language barrier. And he doesn't want that to limit where their family chooses to be in Mexico. And, Armando's like, believe it or not, here in Mexico City, there's less English-speaking people. And where they live now, Kenny can go to the store and the bank and the vet, and he can pick up Hannah from school. And Kenny just wants credit for that progress he's made. And Armando sees that, but at the same time, he doesn't want to feel like just because Kenny moved there for him, now he's obligated to do everything for him, like he owes him for doing that. And then he's like, I don't want you to feel like that because, he's enjoyed it. And Kenny's like, wait, do you think I enjoyed it? And he's like, well, no. Now Kenny's bothered he said that, and I definitely see why. Whatever he was trying to say came out wrong. So of course it bothers Kenny. He said that he wouldn't be here if he thought Armando thought he owed him something. And Armando tries to deflect it and say, I'm just trying to say the life we have in La Misión and here would be even harder than it is there. But that wasn't the point. Where they live isn't the problem. It's that he said he would feel like he owes him. And it's such a surprise to Kenny to hear Armando feels he owes him for moving. Because he's never put that out there, and he doesn't feel that. Not even a little. And Armando's explanation didn't make any sense to me, but I think he's saying he doesn't want to feel that way for Kenny. Kenny doesn't like the idea of keeping score, because that builds a resentment. And I do like how these two communicate their feelings and explain what they're feeling to each other, and they take each other's feelings into account, and, they'll say oh, I have a rebuttal, or can I say my point? I do enjoy that. That's healthy, I think. He says all he wants Armando to do is give it a shot, because Kenny has done stuff for him, and it's all about compromise. And Armando asks him if he expects him to compromise on something like this. And, Kenny lets out a long sigh, and that's all we get from them. So, I don't think that they have problems that are catastrophic to their relationship, but maybe they could be in the future. And, I do think that nobody said Armando owes Kenny, and that just might be a guilt thing, because Kenny really wants to live in a city, and Armando doesn't. But Kenny already gave up his whole life to be there. So not moving to where Kenny would like feels, unfair, probably to Armando, subconsciously or otherwise. So I'm hoping that, it doesn't get too dramatic between these two, because I just love them both. And little Hannah, she's adorable. Okay, we're gonna move on to Julio and Kirsten. I think either is acceptable because they call him Julio. So, Julio and Kirsten. She's still stuck in customs. They have her passport. He's frustrated that this is how her trip is starting off. He wanted it to be all smooth and dandy. And he's just waiting around stressed. And, I keep waiting for her to pop out. And I think he is too. Finally, she comes out. They're all smiles and happy, and they hug and kiss, and she gets makeup on his shirt, but he doesn't care. It's just cute. Then he's like, what happened when she got off? Apparently, they took her passport, asked her questions. She told him she was meeting her boyfriend. They wanted to know if he had her bring a suitcase for him. And it was scary for her, and they checked her luggage. But now she's there, they're happy, everything is good. She's excited to meet his family. This trip is very important because they want his family to approve of them before he just moves to the Netherlands. And he thinks once they love her, they'll be okay. And, she's worried his mom already won't like her because she's the reason he's leaving. He doesn't think so, but, his mom just might. You don't know. Moms, we're all different. She could get upset, so. And then they're in the car, and she's excited to see a school bus because she's only seen them in movies, and she's like, where's the guy with the thing in his hand? And he's like, the Statue of Liberty? And they have a good laugh, and he tells her it was cute, but he didn't tell her, the Statue of Liberty is a lady. So they decided to get a hotel room for the first night to have some privacy. It's been a month and they need to do the thing. And, later they're going to check out Times Square. They see a Statue of Liberty walking around. They have a good laugh. He wants to know what she thinks. She thinks that it's nice. They stop for drinks. She definitely needs one after her long flight. He asks her again what she thinks, and she's like, yeah, it's good to visit or be a tourist, but it just seems overwhelming. I mean, he did take her to Times Square. Is there a more crowded place to take somebody? And she's sorry that she thinks that. And he's like, don't be. I don't want to live here. He wants to move ASAP, but he does need to get things in order. He wants them to find an apartment before he gets there. And she's like, look, you need a job. And that's going to be hard for you because you don't speak my language. He says Dutch is a very difficult language to learn. He tried. He made it 2 minutes in on Dutch for Dummies or whatever he used. He can't pronounce her last name. He only knows a few phrases. But, he's still hoping to move in January. She's asking him if he has second thoughts. He says no. But, he does have his job and his friends and his family. However, he sees a better future for him there. And he's, just going to take that chance. He hopes that his mom meeting her will get her on their side. And, she'll support this. But if the mom doesn't support this, he doesn't know what he's going to do. I think we all know what he's going to do, and that's going to be to move anyway, I'm sure. He's going to follow his heart. Sorry, Mama. Alright, finally on the Hot Mess Express, Brandon and Mary. We catch up with Brandon. He's off on a fishing day with his godparents. He's moving in a couple days, and, he can't wait to be with Mary. And the godparents are happy he can go fishing one last time. Now, something that's confusing me about this is they keep saying he's moving there, but I thought in the last episode he said he was going for 2.5 weeks. Maybe, I don't know which is right. Apparently he's moving there. I mean, I don't see why he would come back, but maybe I heard wrong. So he says after his meetup with his mom and his siblings, it's pretty clear they don't support this relationship. And since then, they haven't been talking. He's grateful that his godparents at least try to understand his relationship on a deeper level than his family does. And then, of course, he's worried about his cell service at the river. And these enablers say, yeah, the fishing won't be as good, but they found a spot that would have better service. Apparently, the last time they went fishing, he lost service, and Mary thought he was cheating on her. But, Mary's service goes out all the time. So, now when he goes fishing, she has to be on the phone, or it's a big fight. They lost her service for a hot second in the car, but then it comes back. Brandon's setting up shop, watching Mary sleep. And by the time he figures out his tripod on the rock facing him, the godparents have everything else done. They even have, bait on the hooks. It's ready to go. So we find out Ryan, his godfather, was Brandon's dad's friend, and he also grew up with his mother. And so Brandon's kind of a surrogate son to them since they don't have kids. She says since Brandon got with Mary, he doesn't go out and do anything anymore because he needs constant Wi-Fi, and that kind of sucks. Him being on the phone 24/7 does cause tension at home because they just can't have any private conversations with him. They ask if he's ready to go, if he's scared, what's going on, what's the living situation. He says the grandparents will be staying with them for a while so they can get to know him and stuff. Mary and Brandon apparently decided to build a house for themselves over there, and I guess there was a typhoon that destroyed her home. So over the last year, all his checks he had coming in were going straight to building a house and Mary. Around $60,000 he sent her. Now he has $250. Ryan is like, what happens if things don't work out and she kicks you out and keeps the house? And Brandon's just not worried about that. She's not going to do that. And he's like, well, you haven't met her yet. And he's like, nothing's going to pull us apart. And his godfather's like, cool, if you aren't worried, guess I shouldn't either. And I think at this point, all of the 90-day audience needs to feel that way, because I can't be the only one this is painful for anyone to watch. Just want to shake them. The godmother is concerned because he's lost jobs because he can't be on the phone 24/7. No job would let that happen. So, we get some questions answered because we were wondering, what does this guy do? I assumed that they just paid for his whole life, right? That's what it looked like to me. But apparently he's done several odd jobs, and he's lost about 4 jobs because of this relationship. So, he's broke and going to the Philippines hoping it's going to work out. He has absolutely no backup plan for if it doesn't. But, these two are supportive of his decision. And honestly, that's really what his mom needs to do. I'm sure his mom has a lot of guilt. But, this woman's being way more motherly to him. Letting him spread his wings and fly. She's like, Brandon would rather die first than not go over there. So he needs to do this to figure out if it's going to work or not. And I think this is what I was trying to say last time. Give him room to try and fail, but also the safety to come back home if need be. They say he's a good kid. They wouldn't say he's an adult yet because he has a lot of growing and learning to do. But, he is an adult in age, just not maturity. He thinks it's going to be tough for Brandon because Mary is so toxic. But hey, they caught a fish. Next time we see this guy, he's getting ready to travel to the Philippines. He's excited for an adventure. He's finally going to meet Mary. He's never been to a new country. And he describes it as like he's going to be a toddler in a new world. He brings his video games and some candy for his lady, and that's all this guy really needs. He's excited and nervous and scared, and he just wants to see how they'll react together. And I'm just wondering how Sleeping Beauty on the phone is going to react to him being on a plane and she can't watch him. At this point, I don't feel he can afford Wi-Fi, especially plain Wi-Fi, right? But Caitlin, his godmother, is wrangling Brandon up because he didn't even know he was supposed to leave 5 minutes ago. And she's nervous because she doesn't know when she'll see him again. He's alone if anything happens. She can't help him being this far away. And he's going over there broke with not 2 cents in his pocket, I guess. So in the car, they ask him if his mom's going to be there to say goodbye. He isn't sure. They haven't spoken since, the pizza party fiasco. And he has mixed emotions about that because it would feel good to see she cared enough to be there for him. But he feels like she went really hard on him the other night. He thinks his family's against his goals and ambitions. And honestly, I'm not sure that he has any besides, be with Mary 24/7. I don't hear any other goal or ambition. But I also feel his mom should be a little more supportive because she's seeing the fallout from her actions. They get to the airport. What do you know? Mama shows up. They hug and she's crying, and instead of saying, be safe, please call me or something, she tells him she doesn't want to go. She doesn't want him to go. He's like, I love you too, Mom, and she just wants to know he's going to be okay. He says he will. But she's, worried she's never going to see him again, and I'm sure that's a fear she's had before. She's getting re-triggered about someone taking away her son because she lost him before. She, tells us at the dinner she was angry, and she's hoping when he gets there he won't let controlling, manipulative behavior be his life. Because she just wants what's best for him, even if she doesn't agree. She says she's been trying to put an end to this, but being here at the airport, she knows this is what's going to happen, and she just has no choice but to let him do it. She wishes him the best and acknowledges that the closeness they lost was her fault because she started using. That caused him to lose all faith in her. And when she finally got clean, Mary came in and stopped that. No offense, lady, but you lost 8 years. You had a long time before she came in to fix it, and you couldn't. And that's not exactly fair to him. He lost having his mom at an age that he needed her the most. And now that he has mommy issues, you're going to have to deal with that. But now she's saying part of her is missing, and it has been. She knows he hasn't always trusted her advice, but now she's sober, so please, just give her a call so she can help. He's going to try. We all know who he's going to call first. His fairy godparents. They're the only ones who care about him at this point. His mom is trying. I gotta give her that. She is trying. But I have an addict for a parent, and this is a very touchy subject for me. So, this poor mom is riddled with guilt, She wants an emotional connection with her son. And she wants him to at least call her and, open up a little. And he's just gonna have to do that on his own time. Brandon isn't sure how the future's going to be between him and Mary and between Mary and his family. But the door is always open for him. He is glad that she came to show her support. He definitely needed that from his mom. Most kids who have a parent betray them in this way just wants to feel like that parent cares. Anyone who's abandoned just wants that closeness. But how many times do you think she promised him that she would be there and do better, and then didn't? Or, please open up to me. If you have a problem, call me, I'll be there. And she wasn't. And I'm sure he's had his heart broken too many times to actually believe it. But, in this moment, his mom is there, and that's what he would choose to remember and focus on. That in this moment, she was sober, she was there for him, and he needed her. When it mattered to him, she did show up. So that's a good first step. He goes on to say, all his life he's been told what to do because he wasn't confident to make his own choices. And you know what? Now he's making one. His moms are there crying and hug, and they can't believe he's gone. And I'm thinking, he's saying he never got to make his own choices, but he's only 23. Like, how many really hard choices has he had to make yet? And now he's off. He's leaving everything behind, his family, his country, no money, and he's off to start a new life with Mary, the love of his life. He prays the fighting will go away, and being with her is his dream, and that's all he wants, so he can't lose that. Our boy is here on the plane, nervous and excited, but then, 20 minutes later, he's on a plane. Apparently he sprang for the Wi-Fi. I'm really not that surprised. I don't know how much plane Wi-Fi is, but I'm sure it's expensive. And remember, he doesn't have 2 pennies. So he gets Wi-Fi, and she wants to see who's next to him. And anyways, he tells her he's next to a girl, and there's not anything he can do about that. Which is true. He doesn't get to pick who he's sitting by. He's literally on a plane to go see her. It might as well be a public bus. It's public transportation. We've all had to sit by someone we didn't know, I'm sure. So she's messaging him about how he always wants to be with girls. He's telling her he's not talking to her, and she's like, of course you will. And he's like, no one could seduce him away from her. And that is for sure true. I don't think that's happening. He's been waiting for 2 years to do this. He's finally going. She's freaking out. She doesn't believe that he won't talk to the girl on the plane. She's probably on video and can see. I'm not sure. So after, Mary overthinking, because there's no way that constitutes as overthinking. But since she's overthinking, he has the flight attendant switch him to an empty seat. It's very insecure, irrational behavior, and I don't know what to label it as, but it is not overthinking. So he tells her he gets his seat moved. She doesn't believe him. He makes it to LA. He's like, I got 2 more flights to go. And she's like, F you. F your girl. He's like, I'm not even talking to anyone. He can't even enjoy this traveling experience because she's overthinking. And, he can't believe she's still saying these things while he's literally sacrificed everything to do this to be with her. The next plane he's sitting alone. She doesn't believe him. So apparently there isn't video evidence. He should have sent her a picture message. He said they're so used to fighting and overthinking on the phone that it's normal. She's still steady texting him how he makes her crazy. F you. F them girls. Maybe it's because she isn't able to stare at him. So now he's questioning a little bit if he made the right choice. She's calling him a liar, a cheater, saying she's done, doesn't want to see him. He doesn't belong there. She wants no life with him. She's basically like, go home. She just had to make his flight hell. She had to make his traveling hell because it wasn't about her. She didn't get what she wanted. He is literally leaving everything to go be with you so you could stare at him 24/7. So you could sit in the bathroom while he takes a crap. So he can watch you do the dishes. So you can go to the river and do your laundry. He's going over there to do all of that. And you're mad that he got seated next to a girl. Like, these people need therapy. And I feel so bad for him because I relate to having abandonment issues. I have some very deep-rooted ones. I'm sure a lot of us do. And this could have easily been any of us. Luckily, it's not. And I'm so scared to see what's going to happen. I have heard like some spoilers about this couple that I don't know if they're true or not. But if they're true, they're definitely still, making each other crazy. Going strong on that. So, thank you guys for sticking it out this long. I hope you have a great weekend. I get to go out of town for the weekend, so I'm excited about that. And, make sure you take deep breaths and take care of each other and give someone a hug. You're supposed to have 8 hugs a day, so don't forget that. And don't forget to like and subscribe either. Thanks, everybody. Bye.